So in Final Fantasy VIII, the game kind of casually drops this pretty crazy and a little bit terrifying idea, and then just moves on completely like it's no big deal. And the thing that they drop is using magic can erase your memories. So no, it's like not in a like poetic way. It's not metaphorical. It's literal. So why? Let's dig into it. Also, if you enjoy JRPG deep dives and Final Fantasy deep dives, go ahead and subscribe to the channel because we got all that here and we got a little thriving community, but it is growing and I'm appreciative of all of you. So junctioning is pretty easy to kind of misunderstand because the UI of it makes it feel kind of like a mechanical. You equip a GF and you boost your stats and you break the game and you kind of move on. But in the actual world of 8, Guardian forces are not really weapons or even spells. They are entities. They are living things, and they don't live in your body. They live in your mind. So when a character junctions a Guardian force, they're not borrowing their power or just summoning them and going away. They're making room for another consciousness to operate alongside their own. So the GF needs to access their thoughts and reactions and intent and emotional context to function properly. So that means it embeds itself directly into the part of the brain responsible for identity and long-term memory. And that space, it's not unlimited. Human memory isn't one solid block. Some memories are obviously short-term, some are procedural, some are, long-term, how to fight, how to move, how to function. Those tend to survive the junctioning just fine. The problem is the long-term episodic memory, childhood, relationships, emotional anchors and memories and kind of like these formative experiences. That's the exact layer that Guardian forces need to interface with in order to establish magic and to stabilize the magic and to interpret intent and to react instantly in battle. So as the GF kind of synchronizes more deeply, basically it weighs and it weighs and it weighs, and something has to give. So it doesn't like violently delete memories. Kind of reminds me of like a Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, thinking of all these memories like trying to survive inside these characters' heads. But it definitely suppresses them and it buries them and it pushes them out of the kind of conscious access. So over time, what's left is a person who still functions, but they don't really remember why they are the way that they are. It's kind of vague and gray and kind of fuzzy. This is why the characters don't really forget like how to fight, but they forget who they grew up with. And like, yeah, their skills are still there, but the bonds that they had like at the orphanage disappear, and why emotion fades way before logic does. And speaking of the orphanage, to me, the orphanage revelation isn't a coincidence, obviously, but it is evidence. So every main party member, they grew up together. They began junctioning Guardian forces at a very young age, and they all trained as seeds simultaneously. Well, most of them did. Their memories didn't vanish randomly. They vanished uniformly. The same gaps, the same blind spots, the same kind of missing emotional history. But then there's Irvine, and Irvine remembers because, well, he didn't junction Guardian forces when he was a kid. So he kept his memories, and with them, he kind of kept the emotional weight everyone else kind of unknowingly, I guess, shed or like got rid of or forgot. And that's why he hesitates. That's why he cracks under the pressure. It's not because he's like weaker. It's because he's just more human than everybody else. And then there's Squall, and Squall is a little bit different. Not because he's immune, but he's compatible, and that makes Squall the perfect host for a Guardian force. He already suppresses his emotion. He doesn't really rely on memory for identity. He defines himself a lot by duty, not really like relationships. So to me, and I don't know if it's ever actually like said in the game, I would have to like go back and look, but for me, that makes him basically like the ideal junction host because he's less resistant to it. There's less like emotional friction, and the guardian forces don't need to kind of like how do you say it? They don't need to like overwrite as much memory and like emotional baggage as they would somebody else. So yeah, for Squall as a character, he doesn't really become empty. He almost becomes more like hollowed out because he's functional and efficient, and he's a little bit detached, and like you could kind of say sadly that makes it what makes him so successful, or kind of tragically, or however you want to put it. Squall is in Seed, obviously, and that is the real horror of Seed, because this is where junctioning stops being this kind of just a gameplay mechanic, and it starts being a little unsettling, because Seed isn't just like, they're not just training these elite soldiers, they're creating elite operatives with a weakened personal history and like reduced or almost no emotional attachment, and their identities are basically replaced by their roles. And a soldier with no past questions less. That's pretty obvious. A soldier with no memories doesn't really fear loss. And a soldier who can't remember love sacrifices way more easily. I think that's not much of a stretch to kind of come to that conclusion. So memory loss in the Seed kind of world, it's not a side effect, it's the cost of power and possibly just the point of it. And in a world where in a world already eroding identity, it's not really a coincidence that time itself even becomes fragile when people can't remember who they are. Compressing everyone into basically a single moment definitely feels possible. So yes, that is what junctioning is. That's why it erases your memories, because junctioning doesn't just take your memories, it takes continuity. You don't really like lose yourself all at once. You kind of fade quietly or fuzz out or whatever until the only thing left is basically the role you are trained to play, and Seed knows all about that. And by that time, the guardian force is stronger than you, and there's not really much you can really do about it. Yeah, so I always really liked that part of 8. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same. Junctioning is it's not just a way to break the game. It's a very cool lore kind of piece to Final Fantasy VIII. And like I said in the beginning, if you like Final Fantasy stuff, if you like JRPG stuff, go ahead and subscribe. We got plenty more videos to come. 2026, Jesus, that's crazy to say, is going to be a big year, because I'm just going to batten down the hatches and put out a lot more videos. I'm trying to kind of streamline my process. You guys don't give a fuck. That's fine with me. Just subscribe. You won't be disappointed. Have an amazing day. Oh yeah, go Steelers. Playoffs, Ravens, Ratbirds. Good night, and God bless. God loves the Steelers. Have a great day.